thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
He's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
All right. Hi, everyone.
Son of a bitch.
Welcome in. Please like, comment,
Are we on?
share. Yes,
We are on.
we
Okay.
are.
Oh, yeah, I hear Mel.
Yeah, it's Holy Week. Holy Thursday.
I could do a whole show on that.
Yeah.
Honestly, so my boyfriend Bob now from my roommate Bob. Everybody thinks there's something going on between us, and now it's hilarious. Like I'll come in and he'll go, "Hi, honey, how was work?" Like we actually pretend that we're a couple. It's hilarious.
Be careful.
Was saying to me today, he goes, "What are you going to talk about in your show today?" We were both leaving at the same time, and I said, "Honestly, I have no friggin' clue." He goes, "You're going to talk for an hour. You don't even know what you're going to talk about." I go, "Trust me, I have no problem doing that. You could just throw a topic at me. Like someday I'll come in and we'll have nothing. You just randomly throw a topic at me. I could talk to you. I could talk about it for an hour.
Of course.
I've been doing this a very long time.
Where the Papa Ba is coming.
It's ba 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 with bees.
Oh, I thought it was Ba Ba Ba.
No, that's Spanish.
Oh, can I say Papa Ba?
You can say however you want. You're hot.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You have to understand the rules around the Valley Patriot. If you're hot, you can do whatever you want.
And not woman.
Yeah,
Right.
well, yeah, because if you're a guy, it doesn't count.
Okay, you have to follow the rules. Got it. Thanks, Tom, for that.
If I was gay, though, if I was gay and you were a hot guy, then that would apply. But since I'm not, then
Are you sure? Because that's
yeah,
you posted that you have a secret lover.
that's true. See, we missed the Baba Buzz.
Aw.
See how you are,
You see how you are?
right? We got to get this show on the road at some point. Donald Trump is the greatest troll in American history.
He is.
Oh my! Like even if you hate him,
You gotta
like,
give it to
he
him.
is so fucking funny.
He is funny. He just does not care.
Because
about
everyone
what
in the
he-
world of
what anyone
politics
says.
has their heads so far up their asses that they take everything so serious. And then he throws out a joke and they run around pretending the joke was real.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he said, "I'm going to be a dictator," but only on day one. It's a freaking joke,
Yes.
people.
Oh, when he
and
said
they're running
drink
around going,
bleach.
"He said it. He said on day one."
Oh, when he said go around drinking bleach,
Right.
one went crazy.
And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk a little bit about Trump's trolling. Because let me tell you, he sets them up every time, and they fall for it every time. All right. Let's get this show on the road. I should probably have my sponsors up ready, too, right? But I don't.
That's fine.
All right. We missed the Papa Baz and everything.
Oh, is that
All
going to
right.
happen again? I'm waiting for the next.
No, there
I
were
know there's
two, but we talked through all of them. Yeah, we're already at the end of the show. I mean, the end of the song. All right, hi, how you guys doing? My name's Tom Duggan here with the Paying Attention Podcast. High Top. Now, last week I said High Top. Two Guys Smoke Shop at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe by accident because I've been saying that for 7 years, and I realized it on the replay, and it was too late to fix it. But we are High Top Golden Seal Apothecary.
Apothecary.
And I really have to go downstairs and ask those guys why they call it an apothecary. I know what an apothecary is. When I was growing up, that's what you called a pharmacy.
Yes.
But nobody calls it that anymore. And
So
these guys
what
are
is
immigrants. They just got into America like 10 minutes ago.
Well, it's unique.
So like
Maybe they're trying to reach your
okay,
generation.
maybe you could be
That's
right.
smart,
Yeah, you could be.
This is-
Let's talk about our sponsors. Boy, we got a lot of sponsors, but we have room for one more. We had one sponsor stopped paying us, and I'm not going to go into a thing because
Sometimes things happen.
I'm never going to shame a business, but
Nope.
but I hate to chase people, and I hate to beg, and I hate to
Mm-hmm.
go to somebody more than once and say, "Can you write me a check for something?"
Yeah.
But
at least be communicative about it. Say, I can. I'm going through a, down
I am the
time.
easiest person in the world. I've had people go 6 months behind on their ads in the Valley Patriot and then call me and go, "Tom, I didn't realize I was that far behind." And I'll say, "Listen, let me amortize your bill. Let's say your bill is $300 a month. I'll charge you $350 a month.
Until
Just
you
pay every month the $300 that you owe plus $50. I'll deduct that. Forget what the amount is. I'll send you a statement every month, and we'll help you catch up. Don't worry about it. Like because we are a family. We call it the Valley Patriot family, and it's not tongue in cheek. It is a family. But every once in a while, someone comes along.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, they always follow the same pattern. They buy 6 months worth of advertising. They're really good, and then they don't pay the final bill. Like they just don't pay that last one. And then you got to chase them. And most of the time I just write it off because it's just not worth my time to chase somebody for $300 or $500. But then, like, you know, then there are times when, like after the bash, when we've spent all of our money on scholarships and we're looking for money. So let's talk about our sponsors, the ones that pay. Century 21 McLennan Real Estate, Zany Pesce Law Office, Marston and Son Construction, EIS Investigation and Gun Training, Tomo and Shaken Seafood. Let me tell you how great Aaron is at Tomo and Shaken Seafood. He's been sponsoring the show for 7 years, and we just noticed last week that we don't have a thing for him over here or on the bottom when we're doing the other view.
Yeah.
We don't have a JPEG for him for Tomo or Shaken Seafood. And I talk to this guy once a week, and he never says, he was, oh, Tom, I saw your show, and you were talking about this, and I'm from China, but, you would think that I wouldn't agree with you, but I do, you're right about, and we talk about these things, and he never once said, hey, where's my ad on the front? He always thanks me for mentioning him at the beginning of the show and mentioning him at the end of the show.
You do mention him a lot on Facebook as well.
And that's right. Well, one of the things about sponsoring this podcast or the Valley Patriot, you buy an ad, not to veer off, but you buy an ad in the Eagle Tribune. You know what you get? You get an ad. That's it.
Yeah.
And if you want to buy an ad online with the Eagle Tribune, you have to pay separate for the online ad than you pay for the print ad.
Okay.
Now, at the Valley Patriot, we're still in business because we do the opposite. We look at whatever the Eagle Tribune does, we do the opposite. So if you buy a print ad in the Valley Patriot, so you got 4-star lighting right here on the front page down here at the bottom, right? Over here. Joe at 4-star lighting pays for this ad. He pays for the print ad. Now, it's a little bit more than $350 because he's on the front page, right? At least 4 times a week, if there's a breaking story, there's a shooting out of Lawrence, there's a fire in North Andover, I'll put breaking ... and then I'll throw up a JPEG of his ad on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Then I'll post the story. Then I'll throw it up again. Because once you put breaking, people start sharing it. Everybody starts paying attention. They're hitting refresh, waiting for the breaking news story. Then you hit the breaking news story. Everybody's sharing it, so everybody else is coming back to your page looking for the updates. So if there's a shooting, you do the breaking news. There's been a shooting on whatever, on Waverly Road in North Andover. And then when you find out that the guy lived and he made it to the hospital, you do an update, breaking update. The guy's at Lawrence General. They're flying him via med flight to Boston, whatever. So in between all of that, I'm throwing ads up for all of my advertisers. And you know what I charge them? I charge them nothing because it doesn't cost me anything. So the Eagle Tribune, it doesn't cost them anything to take your business ad and put it online on eagletribune.com. It doesn't cost them a thing, but they're charging you. Me, the only thing I care about is that you keep this going. If you're willing to help us keep the print edition of the Valley Patriot going, we'll give you all the electronic love you want for free because it doesn't cost me anything. And when we have valleypatriot.com, if we have a big breaking story, you'll notice we'll take a JPEG of an ad of one of our regular advertisers. They don't pay a dime for it. We don't charge them for it. We will put it in with the story and we'll have the words wrap around it, right, on the valleypatriot.com website page. So we love our advertisers, and we want to make sure that we don't want to just take their money, put it in the bank, and forget about them. We want our advertisers to get business from their ad. So, anyways, EIS investigation, Tomo Shaken, JG's Ice Cream, free shout-out to the Jafrida brothers. We love JG's Ice Cream. And it's starting to get warm again, so you might want to go. What did you say your favorite ice cream was again?
Butter pecan.
Butter pecan.
Oh, it's pecan?
Well, it depends on what part of the country you're from, I guess.
I should say butter pecan.
Some people say pecan. Some people say pecan.
I say pecan. That's how
pecan.
All right, that's how I was taught.
That's fine.
I run with it.
The Dominican way of doing it. Clear path for veterans, New England. We got to get Jason Gilbert in here with our newest John Ratka Hero Veteran, Honorary Veteran Award winner, Unitza, sometime in the next few weeks. AFC Urgent Care. Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors, Prime Insurance, the Doug Mercurio Law Office. Did he not do a great job as a co-MC?
Amazing job.
He kept telling me beforehand, you want me to be the MC? I'm really good and I'm really funny. But whenever someone says that, they're kind of overselling themselves, you think. And then later on, they usually don't meet up to the expectations. He far exceeded our expectations.
Oh, yeah. He has a really nice singing voice,
He's got a great... The depth of his voice shuts people the F up. So Chris was talking for 5 minutes and must have said 15 times, can you guys please quiet down?
Yeah.
Nobody even heard him say it.
Well, they didn't realize he was there.
Right. Doug took the microphone and said, excuse me, and there was a hush came over the room. Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors. We got to get him back in. Dave Inconsoli. Prime Insurance, or we did him. Chris's Barbershop in Salem, New Hampshire. It's right above Sevmar, who's not an advertiser, but I don't mind promoting them for free because the food at Sevmar is so awesome. I'm going here. I have a business meeting after this podcast, and that's where we're going. We're going to Sevmar's. In fact, not only is there Sevmar's in Salem, which is Chris's Barbershop upstairs, but Jocelyn opened up another Sevmar in Methuen on Merrimack Street across from Borelli's Deli. And she calls it Jocelyn by Sevmar. And it's the exact same food. So,
Yeah. But it has a little touch of her.
yeah, listen, Jocelyn's like a really
she's
unique individual,
She
and
is.
she's and again, she doesn't even pay for the ads, but I love promoting her for free because A, the food is so good, and B, they treat me so nicely when I go there. I really appreciate
very
that
nice.
too. What else do we have left? Enterprise Bank, who also is not paying for sponsorship, but we love them so much, and they handle all of my finances. So I don't ever recommend anybody to you that I'm not using. You will notice that there is one seasonal advertiser that comes in that I never talk about because I've been to their establishment and it wasn't that good. So I'm not going to dump on them. They're an advertiser, but I'm not going to come on here and say, I went there yesterday and it was wonderful because I'm not going to lie to my audience deserves the truth. That's what they come here for. And that's what I want to give them. W3O and 4-star lighting, our buddy Joe on the front page with Raleigh Patriot. And a free shout out to our buddy Dr. Amano over at Stadium Chiropractic. So, a lot of places we got to get to today. We got a lot of things to discuss, but before we get there, we ended the bash. I don't know if you can see this, but we ended the bash with $67,291. Now, the bash was 3 weeks from tomorrow, believe it or not. I can't believe it's been 3 weeks already. I mean, Blinken going to be 100 years old, right? $67,291 is what we raised. 100% of it went to our kids for the scholarships. Since then, we've raised another $819
on top of that.
$719. $819? $719. On top of that. So since the bash has been over, we've raised almost another $1,000. And now we have a new tote board. And I can't believe it, but thanks to Jen Maroon and Sam Salib.
You want me to put it up?
Yeah, pull it up. Here's our hopefully I think our final tote board. If anybody wants to keep kicking in, I'll keep changing the tote board. But 3 weeks after the bash, this has never happened. We're still getting donations in. We got one donation all the way from the Virgin Islands, St. Thomas Virgin Islands, from a guy named Lee Balcom who used to work for the city of Lawrence. I knew him 30 years ago. Sent me a check for $250. Said, do what you want with it. So I'm bottom loading the Phil Glendy in Greater Lawrence. I could have given it to the Haverhill girl and bumped her up to $10,000 even, and our top four would have had $10,000. But I just feel so bad for Abby and Thomas, the two at the bottom. Like the Edmund Lowe Scholarship is a fund we kick into. It doesn't have a kid attached to it. So our two kids are Abby and Thomas at the bottom. 8904 is what Abby ends up with, and 8890 is what Thomas ends up with for a grand total. I can't believe I'm saying it out loud. $68,000. Last year we topped off after everything. After the post-bash checks came in, we ended up at $58,100.
Wow.
The year before was $53,000 even. The year before that, $33,000 even. So we went 33,000, 53, 58.
Now 68.
68.
Unbelievable.
So I don't even want to even posit the idea that we're going to do that next year. It was such a crazy year, but we said that last year. We came into this last year. You can pull that down. We came into this year thinking last year was an anomaly. 58,000 is just way too much money. There's no way we could. So my goal for this year was 44, and I thought we have a brand new committee. Everybody's new. Nancy and Jill are the only two that came back. And then Jill technically isn't part of the committee because she does not get along well with others. So we don't want her in a group setting. So we deal with off under the side. And I say that lovingly, so please don't run to Jill. Did you see what Tom said about you? Because anytime you say something, even in joking about somebody, I'm getting a phone call. And Nancy's the only other one that came back. So everybody else did not. And then we had to leave the Reliefs in and started at the Elks, our new home, which I love the Elks. In fact, let's put them on our sponsor list for a free a free sponsor every week.
It's a great idea.
And I didn't think with the new committee, the new room, we knew there were a lot of logistics. We were going to have a lot of logistic problems in the room 'cause it's the first time we've been in that room. And we did. We had some logistic problems, but none of them ruined the program. None of them. Only one slowed the program down a little bit. And so we end up with $68,000. And if anybody wants to kick in $2,000 to make that an even 70, that would be phenomenal. I would not. I would not turn that down at all. And
That would be amazing.
I would make sure every kid would have at least. If I did the math last night, if we got 2,000 more in donations, every kid would be above 10,000. And that would be the first time ever for that. So I do want to thank all of our sponsors, all of our scholarship kids. There was a little bit of confusion. Somebody did a sponsorship, and they said, I didn't see my name on the scholarship list. And I said, because you didn't donate to a scholarship, you donated a sponsorship. And he's like, oh, I thought I was giving it for the kids. So I was like, how much did you give? And he said $350, and I'm like, okay, fine, and I adjusted all. I added it in because if that's where they want it to go, that's where I want to make sure it goes. We've been doing this 21 years now. I don't ever want anybody in 21 years. There's not one kid ever said I didn't get the money that I should have got. Never once did one donor for even $1 say I donated the dollar. My name's not on the list. So we want to make sure because I got enemies out there, and they love to make shit up. They love to make stuff up and say. In fact, Debo and Kelly 3-4 months ago were all over. The money doesn't. Sharon Stramaglia Birchall is on Facebook. The money doesn't go where it's supposed to go, and that's why we account for every dollar on Facebook. We're a private company. We don't have to do that.
You don't have to do that.
We could just say this is the new total. We don't have to say who gave the money. We don't have to say how much they gave. We don't have to do a running total online. We do it for every kid, for every donation, every penny. And if anybody would ever come forward and say, I gave $1 and it didn't go where it was supposed to go, even if I couldn't prove that that's what was happening, I'd kick the dollar in out of my pocket to make sure that everybody's just happy with what we did.
I just love how they just throw things without any proof.
Well, because so in Sharon's case, she's just a piece of shit. So she goes on at least once a year, but she never does it around bash time. She never does it like when people are paying attention to what we're doing because it would be obvious that she would be lying. So she waits till like June, September, October, and she does it around then because then, and I'm sure Mike Samad actually did this a couple of times too, saying, oh, the money doesn't go where it's supposed to go. Find one person in 21 years say that the money didn't go where it was supposed to go. And that's why we do it that way. I don't have to do it that way, but I do it that way because I have enemies who like to lie. And they can't catch me by telling the truth. Like if they told the truth about me, it'd be boring. Like I sit in my office all day. What do? So they have to make stuff up. So anyways, all right. Where do we want to go? We've got a couple things we can talk about.
Oh, yes.
Grocery Girl's trying to get my attention, but she always forgets that I have a little podcast I do once a week. So let's see.
You want to start with immigration or?
We got a lot to talk about on immigration. A couple things I want to hit first.
Okay.
So the elections are coming up. It is an odd number year, which means cities and town elections are up. So you vote for your state reps and your governor and your president and your Congress in even number years. In odd number years, you vote for your city council and your school committee and your mayors in cities. In towns, it's a little different. So in North Andover, every year there's an election. Odd and even because the Board of Selectmen come up at it's a 3-year term, but 2 come up for a 3-year term, and then the following year, 1 comes up for a 3-year term, and then so it's staggering terms, which actually is better. You never have a full turnover of the committee, and I actually think that's a much better way to go.
Yeah, that is a better way to do it.
Because I've seen boards like on Methuen 8 years ago, literally everyone was new except for one person, and that one person, not a very bright person, they made that person council president because it was the only person that knew the rules, and it was 2 years it was a 2-year nightmare because anyways. So in Lawrence, you've got Brian could be in trouble.
Okay.
And I know I shouldn't say this out loud. It's going to make everybody mad. Everyone likes to pretend. Every candidate that you talk to, when I say if you win, they go, I'm gonna win. Manny did it when he was here, right?
Yes,
remember when Manny was here? He said,
oh no, but I'm gonna win.
I'm gonna win. I say, but if you win, you mean when I win?
Yeah.
No. Listen, candidates have to say that because if they give the impression to their supporters that they might not win, those supporters might go looking for somebody that they think will win.
Got it.
Because supporters are scummy people for the most part in politics. It's your base supporters like Debo and Kelly right now, and I'm going to keep going back to them because they're the typical hood booger example. They're right now supporting, as is Julissa Nunez, as is Sharon Stramaglia Birchall, are all supporting Manny Gonzalez. Let's say, I'm just going to make something up. Let's say Francisco Polino jumps in the race tomorrow. Francisco Polino is someone who's got a much better shot at beating Brian DePena. He's got a lot more money. Yeah. He's a state rep. He can raise a lot more money because he's a state rep. You get all these lobbying groups trying to get his attention, so they're throwing money at him every day. That's a guy that could beat Brian DePena, right? Yeah. That's a race like that, and that would be a dirty race because they hate each other, right?
Oh, yes.
Sharon Stramaglia Birchall and Kelly Birchall and Debo Brown, a.k.a. the insurance fraudster Donald Frazier, and Julissa Nunez would put down their Manny Gonzalez signs the second they heard and immediately call Francisco and go hold signs for him. They would throw Manny under the bus in 2 seconds. Julissa Nunez would be in mid-sentence that she would throw Manny under the bus because they want to be with the winner. Because they're not with Manny because they like Manny. They're with Manny because they want something. And if they think someone else can beat Brian,
I mean, that's politics,
over
though.
Manny,
that's all around politics.
Well,
people usually help out in politics because they want to gain.
Because they want something, right. Yeah. And it's very, very rare. Well, I should say it's very rare.
I don't, in my case. I don't want anything in politics.
There are like the people who hold signs for you, for the most part, are the people that really love you. Those are the people that are going to sit out in the rain, and they're going to hold signs like on a bridge on a Saturday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning. Usually that's not someone looking for something. That's usually someone that really loves you. Now,
or in the community as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you get the people that are always hanging around headquarters. They're in your ear. They're trying to get you to, I don't want this person part of the campaign because I don't like this person. They're trying to filter you away from people that are going to advise the candidate not to do what you want them to do.
Yes.
This is what Julissa Nunez does. So she sucks up to several different candidates. She's very good at it. She makes herself useful. And she makes the candidate kind of depend on her for certain things. And then once they do depend on her for certain things, that's what she starts with, well, if you win, I want this. Or if you win, I want that. Or I've got a friend that needs a job. Or I have a friend that's having a problem in the police department. Or whatever, right? And so they're using their position in the campaign to manipulate the candidate once the candidate wins. So if they think their candidate may not win, they will throw that candidate under the bus in 3 seconds, and I've seen it happen so many times. So many times I've seen it happen. And I've had candidates call me and go, I thought this guy was my friend. I've known him since high school. And all of a sudden, I drove by him yesterday. He's holding a sign for my opponent. I'm like, right, because he wants something. He wasn't supporting you because you've known him since high school. He was supporting you because he wanted something from you, and he thinks the other guy's got a better shot at beating you. And he wants the guy that's going to win so he can get what he wants. He wasn't doing it for you. He was doing it for him. And so that's the state of politics in just about any campaign that you're running. So right now what you've got is Mark LaPlante, I saw on Facebook, is running for re-election to the council. Yes. I don't think there's anybody that can beat Councilor Mark LaPlante in Lawrence. Now,
he's an amazing
there's always a chance, right? You never know. There's always a chance. He's had a couple of scares. But Mark is, even though we disagree on a lot of stuff locally, Mark is somebody that truly cares about the community.
He does care about the community. He knows his laws. He knows
he
his
puts a lot. He doesn't just show up at a meeting like Ralph Carrera. When I sat on the school committee back in '96, Ralph would come in and crack his book open, and you could hear the binding break as he's opening his book of all the things we're going to vote on tonight. And he'd crack it open and go, "Hey Tom, what's on the agenda tonight?" And I mean, I spent a week going through that, highlighting things, circling, putting questions, and you're just opening the book 5 minutes before the meeting, so you're always going to have that. I don't know why I brought that up. But anyways, because Mark is not like that. Mark puts a lot of time. Anna Levy, also running for re-election. I'm going to help Anna Levy. I like Anna Levy, and I'm just going to be up front with you. I'm not working on the campaign. I'm not official. I'm not going to be holding signs. But when she calls for advice, I'm going to help her.
Okay.
If she needs workers, I have friends that might be willing to go, maybe hold a sign for her. Or so I'm not going to do it, but I can help.
She's the blonde one, right? I always forget.
Well, you Latinos have a different definition of blonde than we do.
Yeah. Well, she's like pharmacy blonde.
Yeah.
Okay.
Greg Delasario, District B is running, and I have to say that
no, District C. Greg.
District C, you're right.
Yes.
I have to tell you, he's the guy I want to win the most.
I love that guy.
I want him to win the most. When we started off, he and I don't know what he thought of me, but I didn't like him when I first met him. I'm just going to be honest. over the years, he has more than won me over. He has really done. In fact, at one point, he called me. Him and another counselor were having a kerfuffle. They were having an issue. And he called me and said, this guy's a friend of yours. Do you think you can help? And so I got him on the phone, and I heard his story. I called the other guy. I got his story. Thought about it for a couple of days. I called Greg back, and I said, I'll tell you what. If you don't mind who gets credit for this, I can smooth this over. And I called the other guy, and I said, if you don't mind who gets credit for this, I can smooth this over. And they both needed a third counselor for the vote. So I called the third counselor and said, if I give you credit in the Valley Patriot, will you vote for this? Will you help them with this issue that they're trying to get? And it was something for a veteran. And otherwise, I probably wouldn't have said yes. Usually I stay out of that stuff. But if it's for a good reason, I will. I'll play matchmaker. And Greg called me back afterwards. He goes, all it took was giving that guy credit. Like, that's really what the issue was. And I was like, hey, he goes, well, you know what? From now on, no matter what it is that I'm doing, if you want to give someone else credit, if that gets what we're trying to do over the finish line, please do that. Now, I've never, in my 35 years doing politics, I've never had an elected official say to me, you're free to give someone else credit for something that I do. Ever. You see politicians at a ribbon cutting, and everyone who's there is a politician. Everyone. There's like 25 people in the room. They're all elected officials. They came together. They all know each other. But if you get to mention one at the microphone, that one person is mad at you for the rest of the week. Even though everyone in the room knows who you are, you all came together. Right? Estella Reyes came with the mayor, and the mayor came with Octavian, and Octavian came with Jackie.
Too.
And everybody came together. Everyone knows each other. Everybody goes to the same ribbon cuttings 3 a day, every day, 7 days a week. But if you get up at the microphone and you forget to mention one person, that person is pissed off because everything they do is about credit. Everything. That's why every single ribbon cutting you see in every newspaper has 17 people in it, and you can't even see who they are. You got to zoom in. You got to try and figure out who's in the picture because everyone has to be in the picture. Everyone has to get credit. I digress. Greg Del Rosario is the one person in my lifetime who has ever said to me, if you need to give someone else credit for me to get something accomplished, don't even call me and ask me. Just please do it. And so that's the guy that I really want to win more.
Yeah. I like him because he has character. And, at the meetings, he really represents and gives a lot of context to, anyone who's speaking and coming around. So.
And I think he asks the right questions. So I'm going to help Greg. I
endorse him. I don't know if that matters, but yeah.
Oh, you did endorse him?
No. I'm saying it here. Like, I would.
Oh, you would endorse him?
Yeah,
I'm endorsing. I want Greg to win. Okay. Now we've got another issue with, and then we're going to get to Trump. So you might remember I've done 3 shows on this now. I don't know how long you've been following the actual show before you and I connected. But I've done 3 shows on voter fraud in Lawrence. I want me to amend that. I've done dozens of shows on voter fraud in Lawrence, but on the podcast I've done in the last few years at least 2 or 3 shows concerning Fidelita Santiago and the voter fraud that she was caught engaged in. We broke the story originally a year and a half ago that she and Jennifer Lopez were driving around her district. And, it's funny, like when you argue with a Democrat who's a partisan, and I don't mean all Democrats. I'm not talking about the average person who's registered as a Democrat but doesn't agree with everything that the party does. I mean the person that every single thing the party says, they just repeat it and they're on their side. You try to have a conversation with a partisan Democrat, they will tell you that, A, voter fraud does not exist. When you finally spend 3 hours getting through the brainwashing that they've endured to get to that place in their head, and you finally get them to admit that it does happen, their answer is, yeah, but it's not widespread. As if it matters. Because in a city like Lawrence, Wendy Luzon won by 3 votes on a recount.
Really?
3 votes, okay? There was another one, and I can't remember which one it was, and I should have brought the numbers, but there was another city council that won by 11 votes in Lawrence in the last election 2 years ago. So does it really need to be widespread if somebody's cheating? It doesn't really need to be. If you have elections that are that close, and I can tell you that in Methuen, in North Andover, if it's contested in North Andover, most races in North Andover are not contested. But if it's contested, usually within 100 to 150 votes to maybe 200 the most, all right? That's not a lot of votes. Do you need widespread voter fraud? Now, I've gone through this all in previous shows. So what happened was, and we actually brought the video in and we showed the video, while Democrats are online on my Facebook page who know nothing about Lawrence, know nothing about the area, saying voter fraud doesn't exist, it's not widespread, I'm showing videos on my podcast of Jennifer Lopez going up on a guy's porch and stealing a mail-in ballot. And how this works is, and I'm going to, for those of you who need a tutorial, who say, oh, voter fraud doesn't exist, it's not widespread, it doesn't happen, it's impossible. It was the most free and fair election ever. All the things you were brainwashed to just say, even though it's not true. Let me tell you how voter fraud occurs. I could write a whole book on this because I worked on Willie Lantigua's first campaign. Okay. So I know all of these tricks. I've actually watched them all happen. Like I watched with my own eyes. I've talked about it on previous radio shows. I've talked about it during college lectures on how to steal an election. In fact, when I'm done the book that I'm working on, I might write a book called How to Steal an Election. Just given what we've seen with our own eyes in Lawrence. Here's how this current grift happened. So we have what we call absentee ballots. If you can't get to the polls on election day, you sign up, you sign a card saying I'm not going to be available on election day. 10 days before the election or so, they mail you a ballot. Yes. You fill it out, you have to have somebody sign it as a witness, and then you mail it back. After COVID, this is why the Democrats want mail-in ballots, which is not absentee ballots. Now, mail-in ballots is for anybody. So for anybody, you can have a mail-in ballot. You could just request. So it's not that you're going to be out of state for the day. It's not that you're going to be in the hospital getting your appendix out. It's that you just don't feel like going to the polls that day, and you just want to vote by mail. It's easier for you, and that's what you want.
Well, so that's what I did.
Right. So since COVID, and the Democrats have been pushing that because if you have mail-in ballots, you have much more fraud. I can already hear the Democrats on Facebook going, there's no proof. We have proof. Okay, we showed the video of the proof. Here's what happens. So let's say I'm working on Jim Smith's campaign for city council, and I go down to the election department, and I turn in my signatures, and I say to the guy behind the counter, hey, I got a question for you. When are the mail-in ballots going out? And he says, next Thursday. Well, let's see. We know that it takes about a day and a half for the
like 3 days.
Post office to process it. So Thursday, they're going to go out. Saturday, we're going to drive around the neighborhood and follow the mailman and see if he's got the big envelopes, because they come in big envelopes, right? Or Monday. So Monday comes, you followed him on Saturday, nothing happened. Monday, he's driving around with all these big envelopes, and you see him going up to the porches. So you look at, so candidates have a thing called get out the vote. They call voters on the phone, and they say, hey, Carlotta, we noticed that you're a registered voter. You plan on voting in the next election. You say, yeah, I'm going to vote. Well, would you like to vote for Jim Smith or Tom Duggan? And you say, no, I think I'm voting for Tom Duggan.
Okay.
Well, I'm calling for the Jim Smith campaign. I didn't tell you that. I just am asking you who you're voting for. So you said you're voting for Tom Duggan. I'm putting you down as a 3 next to your name on the voting list. That means you're not voting for my guy. If you said, well, I haven't really decided, but I'm leaning Tom Duggan, that's a 2. That's a kind of an undecided. You can convince them. If you say, nope, I'm definitely voting for Jim Smith, that's a 1. So the candidates' campaign workers will go to all of the locations that they have on their list that have a 3 next to them. Those are the people not voting for you. And they'll follow the mailman as he's delivering the absentee ballots or the mail-in ballots, as what happened with Fidelina. So you wait until the mailman goes, puts it in the mailbox, leaves that house, goes to another house. You wait till he gets half a block away, so he's not looking in his rearview mirror watching you follow each house, and you go up and you take the ballot out of the guy's mailbox. Now, the guy doesn't know that his ballot was sent to him, that his ballot arrived, and someone else took it out of his box. The next day, he's still just waiting for his ballot to arrive.
Oh, he doesn't know exactly when they're going out.
Right, because the average person doesn't call every day and go, when am I getting my ballot? They sign up for it, and they figure a couple of days before the election, I'll get it.
If it doesn't get here, and most of the time, mails, they get delivered during work hours.
Right.
So there's not really a lot of traffic and a lot of movement going on.
So we have a video that we played on the show while everybody's running around saying there's no such thing as voter fraud. It's not widespread. It's not a big thing. It doesn't affect any elections. Safest election in the world. All the brainwashed things that people say. And we showed the video of Jennifer Lopez going up on this person's porch. The guy had a Ring camera, but he had it up in the corner of his porch, so you could see both doors. So you see her walk up with something in her hand, like she was pretending to put it in the mailbox, took the ballot out, stuck it under her arm, and walked out, and then got into the car driven by Fidelina Santiago, the candidate for office. And how we know this is the police looked at the traffic cam at the next corner, and who's driving the red car at that time, approaching that corner, coming from that house. It's Jennifer Lopez in the passenger seat and Fidelina Santiago driving the car, and she's the candidate for city council.
I want to see that video.
Okay, it's online. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
Go to my YouTube channel. It's up. So this is one method. I could tell you 10 more methods on how you can steal an election and how you can steal votes. Because now what happens is, for most of the people that she did that to, they don't ever get a ballot. And so if they were expecting they were going to get a ballot, and a lot of people forget. Well, listen, we live the elections, right? But most people don't even know what day election day is. I'll say to people, did you vote today? Oh, is that today? Mm-hmm. They don't. The average person is busy living their life. They don't live politics. They're busy.
Kids, wife,
right?
Bills.
The family, right? They got to fix the garage. The wife's mad at them. Mom's dying. Whatever's going on in your life. Most people don't live, breathe, eat, and sleep just like we do. And so a lot of times people say to me a week later, hey, when's that election coming up? And I'm like, it was a week ago. So what happens is when people steal the mail-in ballots or the absentee ballots, most of the people that those ballots were supposed to go to don't even realize they've been stolen. And if they do realize it, it's usually on election day and it's too late. Mm-hmm. And if they try to go down and vote, they get a hard time because we mailed you a ballot. We don't want to let you vote and then receive your ballot by mail. What are you doing? You're waving in planes.
So there's a lot of conversations going on.
Oh, there is? Okay.
Yes. On Facebook.
Okay. All right. Let me pull that up. Make sure that we've got...
There are some disagreements going on. And
well, what could they possibly disagree with? All of that is facts.
Between each other. And
between them. I see.
Yeah. There's a Christy Cat. Hi, Christy Cat. Welcome in.
Oh, we know who that is.
Santiago Reyes is also watching.
So he says Wendy Luzon was in the backseat of Fidelina's car. I would need to see the video of that in order to say that that's true. But I will say that the day that I broke the story, we were under the impression that Wendy Luzon was driving the car because we knew Jennifer Lopez was working for Wendy Luzon. I did not know she was also working for Fidelina Santiago. So when I was talking about it at the time, there was a recount in Wendy's race. She ends up winning, I think, by 3 votes. I was using those numbers as an example of why does it have to be widespread. If they steal 4 ballots, somebody else wins. And, by the way, that shifts the entire balance of the council. If you take Wendy Luzon off the council and you put the person she was running against in that seat, it's a whole different council. Even though you're only changing one person, Wendy hates Brian DePina, hates him. She'd run over him with her car if she could. And she's gonna call me and say that's not true. She's going to deny it. Trust me when I tell you it's true. She would run him over with her car if she could. So she's voting no on every single thing Brian wants, anything that's important, anything that makes him look good. She's constantly accusing him of being corrupt. She's constantly making wild accusations. If you remove that influence from the council and you put the other guy that was running against her, or woman that was running against her, I can't remember who it was at the moment, you go from a hostile council to a favorable council. Because she's also influencing 2 other councilors every time she gets up, and she's doing that. There's another female council I'm very disappointed in that always goes along with her now. But whatever. It's not about my opinion. My point is that you change that one person on the council, and the mayor goes from having a hostile council to having a favorable council.
Got it.
The mayor could go from having a favorable council to a completely hostile council. In fact, I predict that if Brian DePina wins the next election this year, he's going to have a very hostile council. And I think that he's going to have to sing for his supper for the next 4 years. I think his first 4 years, he had it much easier. And if he wins re-election, if he stays in the race and he wins re-election, he's going to have a very hard time getting very big, very important projects through, because there's a lot of animosity among the candidates that are running, even the people that he thinks are on his side. So anyways, I digress.
I just wish people would, that they would just focus on the community and the common good. Like, what's the real intention of being there? It's all about, egos and clashing, and I'm right and you're wrong, and I like it this way and you don't like it that way. And come on now, you're placed in that position for a reason. So I don't know. I'm tired of these people.
Well, it's one of the reasons why, if you watch this show, you get a good sense, you get a good taste for why the average person doesn't like politics. Yeah. Because if you just watch the show that Lenny and I did about the corruption on Beacon Hill, and we were throwing out names of people that people know, like people who are local that people know, it's very discouraging because it's a very dirty business. Yeah. It's a very dirty business, even at the in fact, especially at the local level. I would say it's more dirty at the local level, more backstabbing at the local level than at the state level. At the state level, there's millions and billions of dollars at stake. So there's far less of that going on because everybody's on the take. Everybody's hand is in the pie. I'm going to talk about that in another minute. So Fidelina Santiago has her, I think her lawyer, I can't remember if her lawyer proposed it or if the DA proposed it. And
they said it was the lawyer.
Okay, so I said on this show a year ago when this first started, a year and a half ago when this first started, that I would bet everything that I own and all future earnings that this is never going to see a trial. Because the Democrats in Massachusetts do not want Fidelina Santiago and Jennifer Lopez standing in front of a jury, sitting in front of a jury, explaining how voter fraud happens. Because now it's on the record. And this is a one-party state. It's all run by Democrats. The Democrats control every executive office from governor down to auditor. The Democrats control both houses, the House and the Senate, by a supermajority. Okay? So we are 100% in this state, in Massachusetts, controlled by one party. And that one party has it as their party platform, pretty much, that there's no such thing as voter fraud. And you can't have a dark-skinned Dominican girl from Lawrence of all places, which is going to get a lot more attention because it's Lawrence, sitting in a trial explaining how voter fraud works and has worked in Lawrence for the last 15 years. They can't have it. No. So they're doing everything they can to get her to take a deal so they don't have to go to court.
Did she already step down?
No.
Not yet.
So part of the deal that they're offering, or that's being offered, I think, by her lawyer, is that she would resign, she'd get probation, she'd promise not to do it again.
She admitted to it?
As part of an article of settlement, you always have to admit that you did it.
Okay.
Right. So you have to admit that you did it. So that would at least be on the record that she did it and that Jennifer Lopez did it. Okay. But it wouldn't go any further because, well, let's say Tom Duggan's the prosecutor. Let's say you guys got lucky and I was the prosecutor. I wouldn't make any deals. I would want the public to know what was going on. I would get Jennifer Lopez and Fidelina Santiago on the stand, and I would say, "Have you done this for any other candidates? Like, we got her on the record. Let's find out everything that's going on. What other campaigns have you worked on? Have you done this in previous years? Did you do it when you worked for Brian DePina? Did you do it when you worked for Councilor so-and-so? How about when you
get deep into it? They're just trying to put a Band-Aid over it.
How about the state reps that you campaigned for a year ago? Did you do it for any of them? Have you seen other people do it? And by the way, this voter fraud with the mail-in ballots is not the only way you can commit fraud in elections. There's a whole host of other ways that you can do it that are actually
creative,
that are actually easier than doing it that way, right? But we're just going to talk about this because this is what we have. It's on the record. We have video. It's proof. We have it. Okay. I'm really kind of in a way pissed off that there's even the talk of a deal of someone who literally stole a vote out of somebody's mailbox, which, by the way, is a federal offense. Ooh. If I walked by your house tomorrow and you had a mailbox outside your house and I stole a coupon from Demoulas out of your mailbox, that's a federal offense. It's a federal offense. But they're making all kinds of deals to make sure this doesn't go federal. They're making all kinds of deals to make sure this stays in-house, that she just admits that she was bad, slap her on the wrist, she resigns, and she walks away. And then that way we don't have to ask embarrassing questions like, what about your state rep, and what about the mayor, and what about this one, and what about that one? Now it makes sense why
a lot of people have P.O. boxes.
Right?
That makes a lot of sense. Or they have like those, the little, like the slit where you can like throw your mail in and stuff. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I've got. I've got the slit across the street. Nice. So I don't know what's going to happen with Fidelina Santiago. I actually like her. Here's the problem. I endorse Fidelina Santiago. I also endorse Wendy Luzon. All right. And by the way, most of my friends are still not talking to me. Most of my political friends in Lawrence are still not talking to me over endorsing Wendy Luzon. They've let go that I endorsed Giovanni. They've let go that I endorsed Fidelina. They endorsed. But I had to come in on the show when we were at Studio 21 Podcast Cafe and break the story that 2 of my candidates were involved in voter fraud scandals. Right?
We have a comment here by Thomas Spiltolari.
Oh, you know what? Why would anybody listen to that guy? After
We don't need any more Republicans in this country.
Yeah,
They're ruining America.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. Tom.
Isn't it they with THEY?
Yeah. What do you mean by those people, Tom? By the way, that's the guy that tried to charge us $35,000 to videotape the bash.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the guy that is connected at the hip with Sharon Stramaglia Burchell and Kelly Frazier and Debo Brown, and didn't think that I'd be smart enough to figure that out. Is
there something else that he can do at this time than be here, like spreading?
Well, he's supposed to be at work, actually. He's in charge of Lawrence Cable Access, which has now been defunct because the mayor wouldn't fund them because they weren't following certain procedures. And by the way, I was the dumbass idiot that took his phone call and actually called the mayor's office and tried to smooth that over because I liked him, and I liked the mayor, and I tried to make that better. The mayor cut all of his funding. They're trying to take the building away from him, but I don't think they can. And so, like, they've got this big. And I went up against Dahlia Diaz. I went up against Octavian. I went up against some of my friends to advocate for this guy. The thanks that I got, he sold me out to Debo and Kelly and tried to charge me $35,000 to videotape a bash. Right? Yeah. So, all right, let's get back to...
So everything he's saying is not...
He's just stirring things up. Yeah, he's stirring things up. That's all.
Got it.
He's trying to cause trouble.
Well, I'm sorry, Thomas, you feel that way.
No, it's all right. He's shilling for Kelly and Debo. They wouldn't dare show their face on my podcast comments, so he's doing it for them.
Got it.
So getting back to this voter fraud thing, the partisan Democrats will continually tell you it doesn't exist. They'll continually tell you that it's not widespread. Both of those are lies. We can prove that they're lies. We can prove and I'm going to give you one more example, then I'm going to talk about the Trump stuff. And then Tom Spitaleri his head will explode. There are so many different ways we watched, and I've talked about this before. We have Dave Abdu ran for mayor against Willie Lantigua the first year that he ran, and Dave Abdu has video, and it's still up on YouTube somewhere under Dave Abdu's channel, so you can Google it, you'll find it. We had Isabel Melendez handing out ballots outside the ballot building. So outside Mary Immaculate where you vote, she's standing outside where people are parking their car, handing them ballots that are already filled out.
Oh.
So
Isabel Melendez, who's that again?
Isabel
she's
ran
like the
from
activist, right?
She's an activist. She ran, and I like Isabel. Like, we get along fine now.
She's the one that started that Roberto Clemente.
Yeah, she did.
Right?
Yep.
Okay,
and
yeah,
I've seen her.
She's
done a lot for the community. They just named. I hate when they name streets or parks after people that are still alive. But I think they renamed Valley Street to Isabel Melendez Way or something.
Nice. Yeah, she's done a lot for people here.
She has, but she's also been involved in a lot of voter fraud over the years. And I'm just calling it like it is. I love her to death. I'm not saying because I dislike her. I don't. But this video of her that Dave Abdu took, and Dave Consoy from Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors will come in here someday and he'll tell you because he's best friends with Dave.
Oh, really?
So she's handing them the ballot. And then there's another time where, so by the way, when someone's handing you a ballot that's already filled out outside the polling booth, you put that in your pocket, you go in, you give them your name, they give you another ballot.
Okay.
You fill out the second ballot, you pull out your first ballot, and you mirror the second ballot to your first ballot. You fill in all the people that are the same. Then you put them together, and you put them in the box. And the box counts it as one vote.
But what if they do a recount?
Exactly. If there's a recount, now you just doubled that vote. If you do that to 10 people, that 10 votes becomes 20 votes. If you do that for 50 people, those 50 votes become 100 votes. Okay? So I can give you 10 other ways that we've watched people commit voter fraud. At the South Congregational Church on South Broadway in Lawrence, I'm going to guess that it was at least 15 years ago. We were standing there. The polls closed at 7. At 7:15, one of Willie Lantigua's campaign workers, who wasn't working for Willie at the time, she was working for a council candidate, came in, gave her name to vote, and looked at the guy's sheet, because they used to use sheets, now they use computers, but looked at the guy's sheet, and he crossed off her name, and she looked, and 3 of her neighbors hadn't voted. So she voted, she left, went to her car, called 3 of her friends, told her 3 friends. This is who you're going to be. This is the address. She meets the 3 friends outside the polling booth. She hands them little slips of paper that she wrote the people's names and addresses
Yeah, I
on.
remember when I lived on Prospect Hill. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I used to vote at the Partham School, and I remember getting there, and there would be people outside handing out like stickers, like labels with like their name, and like they were running, and I'm like, what the heck is
So those would be write-in votes. So there's another whole way you can still election with write-in votes.
Okay.
But so my point is, I could give you 10 more different ways that we've seen people cheat in elections in Lawrence. And I'm bringing all this up for a couple of reasons. One, we've got an active case going on right now that should be national news, but it's not. It was when we first broke it, and then it just kind of died down. And the apparatus of the Democrat Party is doing everything humanly possible to make sure this goes away. They do not want anybody involved in this case testifying in front of a jury with lawyers and judges and everybody sitting there and the media sitting there. And I really wish that it would go to trial. And I'm a little angry that
it might not, or it is not.
it's probably not going to.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's almost a zero chance that gets before a jury.
Is there anything you can do to?
Not legally.
So
There's a
don't
few
do
things
it.
that I could probably
Don't do
but
it.
I know I wouldn't.
Don't do
Because
it.
I'd be the guy that got caught,
Oh,
right?
yeah, of course. All eyes on you.
But again, this is not new. And anybody who thinks that it is, anybody who comes on my page and says voter fraud's not an issue, it's no proof, no evidence. I always post Valley Patriot stories from even 15 years ago when Dan Rivera ran against Willie Lantigua, when Willie was mayor and he was running for re-election and Dan decided to run against him. That was the year Dan beat him. He enlisted the entire apparatus of the Democrat Party, including Nikki Songus, including our town moderator here in North Andover, Mark DeSalvo. All the Democrats, the local Democrats, descended on Lawrence on Election Day to quote Dan Rivera's words on my radio show. I still have the audio on it. He said, and I quote, "to make sure Willie doesn't cheat again." Okay, and I interviewed Congressman Nikki Songus. I interviewed Mark DeSalvo. I interviewed several Democrat Party operatives who were in Lawrence that day, and then they had to recount. And they all descended on Lawrence for the recount because that's where a lot of the cheating happens on a recount, as we just explained, right? And I was asking them, like, on the record, like, why is Elizabeth Warren here? She's not even elected to anything. She's like,
I'm tired of her. I'm
the
sorry to say
chairman
that.
of
and
something.
That's so disrespectful because I know she's a senator and everything,
Yeah.
but I am. She only appears during campaign.
Yeah.
She's only in the city. She's only around this area.
She's totally
when there's
racist,
campaign.
too, but that's
she
another
is.
whole
I know
show.
she is.
But she wasn't even elected to anything. And I'm like, why is this lady here? Who is this? They're like, Elizabeth Warren. Why is she here? And I'm asking them on the record, on my tape recorder, why they're there. And to the person, they're saying to make sure Willie doesn't cheat again. Now, why would Democrats be saying they were there to stop someone from cheating again if there was no such thing as voter fraud? Why would Mark DeSalvo and Nikki Songus and the congressman's office and everybody descend upon Lawrence for an election and a recount if there was no such thing as voter fraud? If it didn't exist, if it wasn't widespread, why would that occur? And yet we have it all on record. We have it all on record. We have the videos. We have the pictures. We have the audio
To make
interviews.
sure he
We have
doesn't cheat
everything.
again.
It was in the Eagle Tribune. It was in Rumbo. It was in the Valley Patriot. We had a newspaper back then called Siglo XXI. It was in that
yes.
newspaper. We also had a paper in Lawrence called La Planeta. It was in that newspaper as well. It was very widely covered, very widely covered. And yet, after living through that experience as just one guy who covers the news and does this stuff for a living, I then have to tolerate liars like Tom Spitaleri who run around saying, because he's a Democrat partisan who just repeats what his party tells him, there's no such thing as voter fraud. And then when you get them to admit that there's such a thing as voter fraud, the next thing out of their mouth, like a brainwashed child, is, yeah, but it's not widespread. Well, listen, Donald Trump in 2020, there were some counties, and I think Ohio and Pennsylvania, that he lost by like less than 100 votes. Like he lost the entire county. Now, if you're talking a presidential race, if you lose the state, all of the electors for that state goes to the other person. It's not like you get some votes and they get some votes. It's not a popular vote. Every state has electors, and your electors are your congressman. The number of congressmen you have plus the number of senators is how many electors you get. So smaller states get less. States like California get more. By the way, this segment's perfectly into our next topic. This is why Democrats want so many illegal aliens moving into certain states, because the number of congressmen that you have in your state is determined by what?
Population.
The population, not the population of citizens, the population that lives there. So if you pump 100,000 illegal aliens into Massachusetts in 1 year, you gain a congressman. Now, that's one more Democrat in Congress to push the Democrat narrative, whatever that narrative happens to be for that year, right? If you're pushing 100,000 illegal immigrants into Florida, they may gain a congressman, but that doesn't help you a whole lot because Florida's a Republican state.
Oh, big time.
So that's why they were strategically moving people to blue states, which are Democrat, to get more Democrat congressmen, and purple states that like New Hampshire are kind of 50-50.
Yes.
You know, New Hampshire voted against Trump.
What is that called when the states are like that, when they're not, like secured?
Well, they're called purple states. It's not a blue state or a red
I thought
state.
It was a swing state.
Or a swing. Well, a swing state is a state that in a presidential election will throw the election from one candidate to another.
Okay.
So swing states are like Ohio. Like Texas always
Pennsylvania.
goes. Right. Texas always goes Republican. Florida always goes Republican. California always goes Democrat. But Ohio flips back and forth. Pennsylvania flips back and forth. They have a lot of electors because they have a lot of congressmen.
Right?
North Carolina. So those would be like your flip states.
Okay.
So you have people who are purposely bringing illegal aliens into the country. The Joe Biden administration threw the borders open. We listen to all the lies. We listen to day after day after day after day of the border is not open, the border is closed, the border is secure. Pay no attention to what you see with your own eyes. And then Bill Maloogian would come on Fox News. He's the only one that was doing it. He had a drone up in the sky on the border of San Antonio, Texas, with thousands of people streaming across the border every day.
Jesus.
Every day. Now, I throw the number 50 million out all the time.
They say it's 11.
Okay. I'm 58 years old. When I was in high school in 1985, the number was 11.
Really?
Yes.
11 million?
11 million illegal aliens in the country in 1985. I'm now 58. It's 2025, and what's the number that they're still using? 11. Do you know what that tells me? It's not 11.
It's not 11.
No.
We're overpopulated.
Right. It's closer to 50 million or more. And I'll have Carl Burridge or some of these other people that come on and go, where's your proof? Where's your evidence? Listen, I've lived it. I don't need proof. And no matter how much proof I provide you, it's not going to make a difference. Because you're going to find another excuse to hold the position that your political party leaders told you to take. So if you're a partisan Democrat and the partisan Democrat and Nancy Pelosi or a leader in the Democrat Party comes out and says the talking point of the day today is Donald Trump's creating chaos, you watch every single MSNBC, CNN, all the news channels that are all liberal with the exception of Fox are all going to start using the word chaos 50 times that day. That's what they do, and they indoctrinate you. You hear it over and over and over, and then when you go on Facebook, you see Democrats going, but he's creating chaos. Where do you think they got that? They've been indoctrinated. So Biden threw the borders open because he wanted more illegal aliens. And then the federal government facilitated moving people around the country. They didn't just randomly pick places.
Well, they made it seem like it was the rest states that were sending people to different places.
Well, they were.
They were. I know.
Some illegal aliens were finding their way on their own to Florida because if you're from the Dominican Republic, Florida's pretty close.
Yeah.
So, like, as far as temperature-wise, so why wouldn't you go there? The governor of Florida said, oh, screw this.
They sent them to
You're
Martha's
illegal?
Vineyard.
They sent them to Martha's Vineyard. And all of those white Nazis on Martha's Vineyard who have signs all over their lawns, no person can be illegal.
No. On Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. We're open and affirming diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah, right. Their racism is segregation.
The minute the brown faces landed on Martha's Vineyard, they called Charlie Baker, demanded that the army show up. And they had the military remove illegal aliens from the Nazi island of Martha's Vineyard. And where did they house them? They housed them at, a military base. So now Donald Trump is president because of all the nonsense, because the Democrats took everything too far. If the Democrats didn't take everything too far, if they didn't make everything too far, Donald Trump never would have had a shot at being president. But here we are. And so now Donald Trump wants to use the military to deport illegal aliens. And what are the Democrats saying? That's what a dictator does. You can't use the military. You're using the military? You're using the military to... That's what the Nazis did. They rounded people up. Remember, where's your papers? Remember? Mm-hmm. So it's okay to use the military to facilitate moving illegal aliens into the country. It's okay to use the military to house illegal aliens while we have American veterans sleeping on the fucking streets of Lawrence. That's okay. But if the next president comes in and wants to use the military to undo the illegal and traitorous act that the Democrats committed for 4 years under Biden by bringing them in and moving them around the country, suddenly that's what the Nazis did? Suddenly that's what's wrong? And let me say one more thing as a Jew, because I almost never play the Jew card, but I'm just so goddamn tired of this. I really am. I am so sick of people in this country likening Donald Trump, Donald Trump supporters, conservatives or Republicans, to Nazis. Now, those of you who have been following politics for a while, for let's say 20 years, know that this is not new. They called George Bush a Nazi. They called Ronald Reagan a Nazi. In fact, Ronald Reagan wasn't just a Nazi. Reagan was Trump before Trump was Trump.
Yeah.
They hated Reagan more than anything because Reagan was happy and told jokes and was able to bring independence to the Republican Party.
Did he almost get assassinated
He
too?
did. Yeah, he got shot
Just
at.
like Tom?
He got shot once and shot at twice. Well, Ronald Reagan was not only called a Nazi, but because his middle name was Wilson, and there's 6 letters in Ronald and Wilson and Reagan, he was the Antichrist. 666. He had 6 letters in Ronald and 6 letters in Wilson and 6 letters in Reagan. He's not just Hitler. He's literally the Antichrist. This is the shit that we've been listening to from the Democrat partisans who hate this country, who hate middle-class America, who hate the nuclear family, who hate Catholics and Christians and Jews. That's what we've been hearing going all the way back to 1980 with Ronald Reagan, and I know because I lived through it. This is not something I read in a book. I graduated high school in 1985.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't born then.
Right, I know, right? I'm an old man now. So this is not something that I just said because I saw it on Facebook. I read it in I lived this. And I remember watching. I remember John Kerry back then, who, yes, was on the scene back then in 1980, 1985. He was going around with all his petitions to stop nuclear. We had to get rid of all our nuclear weapons. We wanted a nuclear freeze. We wanted to get rid of all of our nuclear weapons.
John Kerry wanted.
That's what John Kerry was trying to do. So
This was in the 80s.
In the 80s, I remember running into John Kerry himself at the Italian feast in Lawrence, gathering signatures for a nuclear weapons freeze. Because if we get rid of all of our weapons, the Russians will get rid of all of theirs too, and then we can all live in harmony. Like, I don't know what planet you're living on, but it doesn't work that way.
You know what I'm tired of, Tom?
What's that?
And it might be a little sidetracked, but I'm just tired of liberals, and I don't want to label those people as just liberals or Democrats because I'm sure, there are some, I don't know. Anyways, of making me feel bad about the way that I want to live my life. They want to make you feel like, you know what, you don't deserve that. We got to give it to the illegal immigrants. You don't know how bad they have it in their countries, and you shouldn't have all that extra stuff, and all. You shouldn't have warm water in your house, and you shouldn't have drinking water in your house because there's people in other countries that are suffering, and it's because of you, because you're taking advantage of having. It's capitalism. Right. It's called freedom. It's called freedom. It's called capitalism, and we're not to blame for for the whole world. We are not to blame. Right. One action that I do, that I have warm water in my house, is not to blame me for the whole world. I'm sorry. You know who has equality? Communists. Everyone's poor. Yeah. Everyone's equal. Everyone's poor. The government owns everything. That's what they want. Socialism. That's exactly what they want. Socialism, and we'll get into a whole show on this someday. But socialism is the stepping stool for communism and fascism. They call fascism right wing. That is a hoax that has been perpetuated on us by college professors going back to the 60s.
fascism is not right wing. If you think about left wing and right wing in this way, it makes way more sense. And by the way, I don't want to take any credit for this. I stole this from Dennis Prager, okay, who, by the way, is by far the most brilliant man on the planet. When he dies, this planet loses something big. All right. To figure out left wing, right wing, think as far left, the further left you go, the more government control there is. And the further right you go, the less government control you is. So if you think of the political spectrum in that light, further left, because on the screen that's right for you, but for me, left. The further left you go, the more control. The further right you go, the less control. That means fascism and anarchy are in the wrong place. Now, if you take fascism, which we call on the right, you put that on the left, and you take anarchy, which we call left, and put it on the right, now it all makes way more sense. Because now you've got, like, Democrats and Republicans in America are in the middle. They're not as socialist and semi-communist that the Democrats in America want to be and try to be. They're not nearly the Stalinists.
But why is it empathy? Like, what is it that they're looking for?
Well,
socialism does not work.
No, it's collectivism.
You've seen it with Cuba. You've seen it now with Venezuela. Not in 2025. Maybe in year one it might have worked. But that does not work. And people have egos. No one is going to, be like, oh, everything's the same. Empathy. Everybody comes together. There is no way. There is no way. There's a lot of bad people. There's a lot of good people. We need to have things.
Well, it's about collectivism. So if we get everybody doing the same thing, they have to have a leader, and we're going to be the leader. So we're going to be in charge. We're going to be the elites. We're going to determine that you have to change your light bulb to something that's much less effective because we're going to save the planet. But we're going to make you do it. We're going to make you buy electric cars, even though we don't have an electric grid to handle it. Because then when the electric grid falls apart, we don't have any electricity, and now everybody's completely equal because everybody's just freaking poor. But we're still in charge. We still have millions of dollars. We're in charge of the government, right? So,
or you get your food portioned for
right,
a week. You
right.
can't even go out and for dinner or at a nice restaurant or anything because you can't afford it.
Right. So if you move fascism to the left and you move anarchy, which is they don't want any government, now it makes sense. You've got the Democrats and Republicans in the middle in America, right? And then you've got socialism on the left. I'm going left, but on your screen it looks right, but this is my left. Socialism, communism, fascism. On the right, you've got your Republicans kind of in the middle, and then you've got libertarians and anarchists. Right? Libertarians want almost no government.
Capitalism.
Well, capitalism's kind of in the middle, right?
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as pure capitalism. Capitalism always has a socialist element to it because you have human beings involved.
Yeah.
So pure socialism is never going to work. Pure communism is never going to work. Pure capitalism is never going to work. Because in a capitalist country like Social Security is a socialist system.
It is.
It's a socialist system where you pay in, and everyone thinks that there's like a lockbox. Remember Al Gore? There's a lockbox. There's no lockbox. You kick money in, and the government spends it.
Where is that guy?
Al Gore?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's chasing Man Bear Pig.
He ran for president, right?
He didn't. Thank God he got slaughtered. That was right before 9/11. George Bush beat him. Thank God.
I know.
Can't even imagine what life would have been like if that guy was president during 9/11. But and I forgot where I was going here.
You were talking about the spectrum.
Yeah. So when you look at anarchy and libertarians and Republicans are slightly right. You've got until you get to anarchy, and anarchy is no government. Right? So libertarians want almost no government, but agree that we do need a government. Anarchists want no government at all. And then if you take that string that I just laid out for you and take the two ends and marry them at the top and make a circle, that's actually what you've got for your political left and right. Those on the far, far left and the far, far right actually meet in the middle. Because either one of these two concepts of government, taken to their ultimate extreme, destroys society. If you have pure anarchy, pure fascism, society.
Where do you put independent people?
Well, I mean,
I like to say that yes, I am a Republican, but I don't agree absolutely with everything. So I like to say I'm independent. So am I like in the middle? Where am I?
Well, so you want to get rid of everything on the far right, everything on the far left, and now in the middle is Democrats and Republicans, and then in the middle of that, squeezed in, are the independents.
Okay.
So you have a lot of people who, like I have a relative who is very conservative on fiscal issues. Wants lower taxes, wants more businesses to have less regulation, wants the oil industry to have more power, wants gas to be low, prices to be lower. On the other hand, he's all for gay marriage, he's all for abortion, doesn't care about the social issues. So he's not really a Democrat, he's not really a Republican, he's kind of in the middle. Those are your true people in the middle.
Yeah. So that makes sense.
Sometimes they vote. I'm a right-wing lunatic. I'm as
You're not a lunatic. Stop saying that.
well.
word.
I say it because when I call people a left-wing lunatic, it doesn't sound like I'm insulting them when I say I'm a right-wing lunatic. So it kind of makes it okay for me to call somebody a left-wing lunatic.
Makes sense.
I marry myself into it to inoculate myself, so to speak. I had a brain fart. I forgot
That's
where we
fine.
were
Do you
going.
want to talk about the photograph?
Yeah, so we were talking about the Nazis. So let's get back
Yeah.
to real quick,
Yeah.
and then we're going to probably end the show,
So
right?
there's this photograph that I found on Facebook today, and
Yeah,
I
this
shared
just
it with.
fucking infuriates me.
I shared it
It
with
fucking
Tom.
infuriates me. You have no idea how angry I got when I saw this.
Can I give some context?
Yeah, please do.
So, this is a photograph in comparison of the jails in El Salvador that are, were put in place by President Bukele, and to the right we have, unfortunately, Jewish and other, populations in Nazis concentration camps. So they're comparing the two, and they're basically saying that history is repeating itself with this photograph.
Right.
And you should see the comments on this photo.
Oh, I bet.
Like, people are like, oh my goodness, we're so inhumane. This is definitely happening.
Because people are
And
dumb. Because people are just dumb. People are just retarded. They're just
like,
dumb.
how is it that you are being persecuted for your religion, but then you're being persecuted for being a criminal and a
Right.
thief and a killer?
Right. So if you're a weak-minded person, you don't know anything about history, this is made to shock you.
Yeah.
Right. This is made to make you have an emotional knee-jerk reaction, which is what the Democrats, their ply and trade, is to make you have an emotional knee-jerk reaction. Why? I'll tell you why with a question. Have you ever made a good decision out of emotion?
Nope.
I've never made a good decision out of emotion,
Never.
ever. Pull that back up.
Yeah.
So they want you to look at this photo, and they want you to be so outraged at what you see on the right, because those are Jews in a concentration camp who none of them lived. They were all gassed to death. Some of them, they did medical experiments on them without anesthesia to see how much pain they could take before they died, okay? That's what's on the... But what is the difference between the two? So if those people who don't know anything will be emotionally charged by this and would immediately be in favor of whatever the Democrats are going to say, right? Because they don't want this, right? They don't want what's going on the left to actually equal what's on the right. But as a Jew, I'm so highly offended by this, because what you see on the right, as you explained, are Jews who were rounded up for being Jews.
Religion.
Well, they're religion, but it's also an ethnicity. So imagine rounding up all the black people and putting them in a concentration camp and doing medical experiments on them without anesthesia to see how much pain they can take before they die.
Yeah.
And you're going to equate their suffering with the people on the right who are murderous, torturous, rapists, and child molesters who join a gang. Now, let's talk about, you can pull this down now. So let's talk about why this is so completely outrageous. Because, first of all, it's done to emotionally manipulate you. That's outrageous enough. But you've got this guy who was deported to El Salvador. And you have people in this country who are advocating for him.
To return.
You have a congressman or a senator, I think he's a senator, from Maryland, who went down to El Salvador, demanding to see an El Salvadorian citizen in an El Salvadorian jail in El Salvador. Would we tolerate Xi Jinping from China coming to this country, showing up in Dallas, Texas, and demanding to see an American citizen in one of our jails? Would we put up with that?
No.
No, we tell them to go the hell back home, right? So we have American citizens who, because Donald Trump so hurt their feelings by existing, that they're willing, and this is what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, that they're willing to take the side of a guy who beat his wife and is a murderer. So when I say this online, when I say this on Facebook, You got people that come on, and I'm not going to mention names. I'm not doing it to humiliate people, but the usual cast of suspects. If you follow my page, where's your proof that I Googled, is this guy a murderer? And it didn't come up with anything. My guy must not be a murderer. Where's your proof, Tom? Where's your evidence? You're just making this up, right? Because that's what I do. I have nothing better to do with my time but to sit around my office all day and make shit up. Do you know how you become a member of MS-13? Do you know how you become a member of Tren de Aragua? Do you know how you become a member of most of these gangs, if not all of these gangs? The only way to get in is to torture and kill somebody. Mm-hmm. And some gangs, you have to rape, murder, and torture someone. Yeah. And some gangs, it's not just one person, it might be 5 people. It depends on how high you want to go up in the hierarchy of that gang. And every time a guy kills 10 people or more, he gets a promotion. So within the gang, it's like being in the military. You become a sergeant, you become a lieutenant, you become a captain. You have more power, and then you have people under you. They also have rules in these gangs, because gangs can't exist in the murderous field of gangs without rules. And one of the rules is you're not allowed to hang out with anybody who's not in the gang. So if you're a member of MS-13, you're hanging out with George from next door, and he's not in the gang, mm-hmm. They're either going to kill you or they're going to kill him.
But the thing is that they're saying about the situation is that they did it wrongly. So they're trying to give a scare to people, saying that, you could be deported just because.
Right.
And that's not even the case. I can actually give you an example.
Sure.
Yesterday I was at the nail place getting my toes done.
Mani Petty?
Huh?
Mani Petty?
No, just Petty.
Just
I couldn't afford the Mani.
Should have let me know. I would have sprung for the Mani.
Oh, thanks, but I'm good. So
well, you're hot. You're hot. Why would I not pay for that?
So ICE shows up after I left. The owner of the establishment, she posted a video, and they said, we have to kind of look through everyone and see if everyone is okay. And she even said it. She goes, they were very respectful. They said they are not here for hardworking people.
Now, who came in? Oh, was the police?
ICE.
Oh, ICE came in. Okay.
Because there's a big salon. She has about like 50 employees.
Yeah, they're hitting all the barbershops too.
Yeah.
187 barbershops in Lawrence.
Yeah. So she said they were very respectful. They told her, we are not here to take anyone who's honest, who's hardworking. We are literally just looking for anyone with a criminal record. That's it.
Right.
That's it. That is it. And she said it. She attests to it. She said they looked through everyone and everyone was safe and they left.
So think about how brilliant Donald Trump is. He knew that this guy had beat his wife. He knew that there were police reports. Like before they go publicly and talk about things, they know what they're talking about. The Trump administration knows.
They don't just do things just to do it. They're so organized.
But that's what they get accused of by the Democrats who want to portray them that way. And so Donald Trump and his administration bait them every time, and every time they fall for it. The last time they fell for this, or one of the last times they fell for this, Donald Trump was able to get an entire party of people who spent the last 15 years saying global warming is an existential threat to humanity, so much so that we have to change the light bulbs and we're going to mandate everyone drive an electric car. He got those people to torch electric cars, to prove to the world they were full of shit about global warming.
Think about that.
Right? Right?
Tom, you just discovered America.
Right? But he's brilliant, right? Because he knows that whatever he says, if he says oxygen is great, they're all going to hold their breath. So he got that. He married up with Elon, knowing that they were going to attack Elon, who's literally saving the planet. He's literally saving the planet.
I'm in shock.
He's doing everything that the Democrats said that they wanted for 20 years on the record, on CNN, at congressional hearings, at rallies and campaign stops. We have to save the planet. We have to mandate electric vehicles. We have to do this. Whether we like it or not, it's going to be hard, but the planet is just too volatile. We've got to save the planet until the guy saving the planet was a Republican, then fuck the planet.
You have people like running into like Teslas and doing all this stuff. Wow, Tom, I never thought about that.
So now think about this. While they're burning that electric vehicle, what's that doing to the planet? So by getting them to do that, they out themselves as the friggin' liars that they've always been.
Are you guys paying attention to this?
It's never been about the environment. It's never been about global warming. It's never been about saving the planet. It's about power. If you get everyone on the electric grid, but our electric grid can't handle it, You owe that. They're the ones in power. They're the ones that get to ration out who gets electricity at certain times of the day. They're the ones, they can control everything. Right now, your banking, everything you do relies on electricity. Everything.
Everything.
Your phone, your laptop, if you're driving an electric car, it's going to be electric heaters.
I can work from my phone.
Right. They're mandating that we get rid of gas heaters in people's homes and we mandate electric heaters so that they can control it because the grid can't handle 350 million people in America having every device on the electric grid. And by the way, our electric grid's falling apart now with what we have, okay?
I lost power recently for a couple of hours.
So now, not only is Donald Trump so goddamn brilliant that he got Democrats to torch electric vehicles and prove to the world they don't believe in global warming, because they've been lying for 20 years, right? On top of that, he's now got them defending a wife beater who's a murderer and most likely a rapist who's a member of MS-13. And now you've got the party that ran around talking about domestic violence for the last 20 years and rights for women and the year of the woman and we have to have women in office. And every day it's this endless slaughter on Facebook of it's Women Empowerment Day, women in the military, women in police, women in sewer design, women week, women month, women year, women weekend. It's women every 5 seconds. Until a guy from El Salvador beat his wife, and then suddenly domestic violence is okay.
It's okay.
Domestic violence is
She's
just
saying it's
fine.
not true now.
Well,
There was a lot of instances, and she had proof, and she had videos, and she
videos,
had everything. And
right.
I believe when I read that, I couldn't believe it.
Right.
I was like, wow, that is a violent man.
Right.
That is a violent man.
So I've
She's
now
walking
asked-
on eggshells, and she's probably thinking, you know what? As a Latina woman, like I said in on Facebook,
it's very sexy the way you say Latino woman. Say that again.
Yeah, Latina woman.
Yeah, it was a little fun. It was a little more sexy the first time, but I'll take it.
As a Latina woman.
Latina woman.
We're told to just put up with our husbands. They provide, and the kids need them, and we just need to be perfect
Right.
family and all of this stuff. And no matter what they do, you have to stick by your husband. And I don't know. I'm glad he's gone.
The Democrats don't care about women. They care about one thing: killing babies. They care about abortion because they make money on abortion. They make money on abortion by funneling money to Planned Parenthood, then takes that money and donates it back to the politicians that are voting to give them the money. They also make money on medical experiments from the stem cells that come from the fetuses.
Got it.
But there's something else going on here that Donald Trump isn't just brilliant in the way that he's trolling them to get them to defend a wife-beating, murderous, drug-dealing gang member who's an illegal alien. And by the way, for full disclosure, I don't care that he beat his wife. I don't care that he's an MS-13 gang member. I don't care that he's a murderer. I don't care that he's a torturer. Those aren't my reasons for wanting him out of the goddamn country. I want him out of the country because he came here illegally. Mm-hmm. So you can argue he didn't beat his wife. You can argue I spent all night with this guy William online last night because I couldn't sleep, arguing over and over he's not a member of MS-13. How do you know? What's the proof? Just making as many excuses. But those are all just distractions because at the end of the day, let's pretend he's an altar boy at St. Patrick's Church. Mm-hmm. And he volunteers his time on Sunday to deal with elderly cancer patients. And on Tuesdays, he's saving abandoned puppies. Okay? He still came here illegally, didn't he?
He did.
And only the people who run this country, which are the people who live in this country, who are citizens of this country, get to say who comes in our country and who doesn't. Just like only you get to say who comes in your house and who doesn't. And if you call the cops and you say, Carlotta's in my house and I don't want her here and she won't leave, they don't give you a hearing. Mm-mm. They remove you from the house.
Exactly.
And then if you want a hearing, if they arrest you and you want a hearing, they give you a hearing. But first they remove you. Well, let me tell you, that's the way it should work here. You come into the country illegally, we send you the hell home. And if you want to come back, if you want to do it the right way and you want a hearing, I'm all for giving you a Zoom hearing. You don't come here for the hearing because we'll never get rid of you again. We'll have to find you first, and then we'll have to deport you again, right? But if you want a hearing and you want to come the right way, I'm all for that. I'm even for. I think we need to pause on all immigration right now, given what's going on. But once all of this is over, I'm all for streamlining the process, making it cheaper to come here, make it easier to come here, ease the regulations.
People that come here legally have to wait years. I told you, I waited 7 years.
And they're our best citizens. People who come here legally are better than the citizens who were born here. Because they actually care about who George Washington was and why. They actually know the Constitution. They actually come from countries where they have no freedom, so they appreciate the freedom here a lot more. But let me tell you why.
That's why I talk about warm water.
Right.
much.
But let me tell you why Donald Trump is even more of a genius when it comes to getting the Democrats to do his dirty work for him. Because what the Democrats don't understand is that he sets them up, and they have their typical, predictable, knee-jerk reactions. And so what are they doing right now? I'm going to walk you through it slowly until I see the light bulb go off on your head. So what are they doing right now? They're on CNN, MSNBC. They're on every cable news station. They're on every social media network. They're on every Channel 4, 5, and 7 for your 5 o'clock news at the afternoon. Every panel discussion that's going on in Washington, D.C. right now with a camera is talking about this guy from MS-13 who's in El Salvador. And what are they showing us? They're showing us videos of that really horrible prison in El Salvador. The guys with their heads being shaved, and they have to hug each other as they're running. They have to get down on their knees and put their head down on the ground, and they have to all line up, and then they all go into a cell, and there's 50 guys in every cell. Now, think about this. As you're watching this, and hopefully I can see through the camera and see the light bulb go out on your head as I'm saying this. If you're an illegal alien living in America right now and you're watching all this, what are you thinking?
I'm leaving.
I'm getting the fuck out of here, right? I don't want that to be me. I'm not going to CCOT or whatever it's called in El Salvador, because Trump isn't just sending El Salvadorian illegal aliens from El Salvador to that prison. He's sending Venezuelan drug dealers.
Oh, he's sending people from all different nationalities.
So he's not sending the Venezuelan drug dealers to Venezuela. He's sending them to El Salvador, to that prison, which is why we're giving them $6 million to administer that prison, because they're holding all the drug dealers and the MS-13 gang members and the Tren de Aragua gang members and the Latin King gang members and the Trinitario gang members who are from the Dominican Republic who don't even know where El Salvador is. They're all going there.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're an illegal alien watching all this and you put on CNN and there's Anderson Cooper crying, oh, they didn't follow the process and they put him in a mean prison and they're being mean to him, they shaved his head, and you're an illegal alien who knows you're not supposed to be here, you're going to self-deport. And that's the brilliance of what Donald Trump is doing, is that he doesn't have to do half the work that he should have to do, because the Democrats are doing it for him.
He's getting ahead of it.
They're broadcasting all over the globe what's happening to this one guy, and we all know what happens when people see a story. They think that's happening to everybody. They go, oh my God, this is what...
Emotional manipulation.
Right. He's using their own tactics against them. And if you're a person who's in Mexico right now, who's thinking of sneaking over the border, you're thinking twice about it now, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Right. So we have to deport fewer people because more people are going to leave on their own. And so
Donald Trump is he is amazing.
He's
so
playing
smart.
chess. He's playing chess, and they're not even playing checkers. Like, we don't know what they're playing. They're playing solitaire. They're playing something else. But he's 7 steps ahead of them every step of the way. And so I saw that video with Stephen Miller, and I'd been saying it for a couple of weeks before Stephen Miller said it. But Stephen Miller, the national security advisor, said it so much better than I could have. He came out yesterday. He was doing a press conference, and the press was asking him questions, proving that the press doesn't even know what they're talking about.
Oh, I saw that.
And they're asking him questions that they don't know about.
We're not the government.
Right.
Some guy said.
He said, well, do you know what happens? Do you know the difference between a withholding order and a deportation order is? I'm not from the government. He goes, well...
You had all these hours, all these days to prepare yourself.
You're the
for
person
this.
asking the question. You're going to go back to CNN and talk about this as an authoritarian figure. Don't you think you should know this stuff? So he said what I've been saying now for weeks is that let's say the Democrats get what they want. I always say, what's the end game? Right? Whenever you're especially talking to a partisan Democrat or a partisan Republican, which partisan Republicans aren't much better. They were better, but not a lot better because they're partisans. Anybody who's partisan is just going to remove their own morals and replace it with their party morals. But when you're talking to a Democrat partisan and you ask them what's the end game, as I've been asking people for 2 weeks or since this started, it's, well, we want them to come back here. I said, well, what do you think is going to happen when he comes back? You think he's going to like go to the beach and get Tripoli pizza and go get some ice cream
Give it
with
a
the
few
kids?
years, and he's going to be a wife beater again.
Well, I mean, but what's going to happen is this. There's a deportation order by 2 Democrat-appointed judges from two immigration courts. He's had his due process. Both Democrat-appointed immigration judges ordered him to be deported. If there was a withholding order would mean, which doesn't exist in this case, even though Democrats say that it does, that would mean you can't deport him to his home country because he's in fear of his life from rival gang members, or maybe his own gang members. Maybe he turned on them. Maybe he tried to quit the gang, whatever, but they're trying to kill him. So withholding order means you just can't send him back to El Salvador. That doesn't occur in this case. What do you think happens when he comes back? Let's say that senator from Maryland, the traitor, goes down to El Salvador and brings the guy back. You know what happens next? They rearrest him. They put him back in prison here in this country, and they deport him again. That's it. That's what happens. There are 2 judges, Democrat-appointed judges, who ordered that deemed he is a member of MS-13, that he's too violent to get bail. They wouldn't bail him out. Now imagine 2 Democrat-appointed judges. I think Obama-appointed judges, but maybe Biden, but most likely Obama-appointed judges, said, these are people who let everybody go, said, this guy's too dangerous to even get bail. So we're not going to release him into the country in hopes he shows up for his next hearing. We're holding him. And they both ordered him to be deported. Now, if there was a withholding order, that means he can't go back to El Salvador. We got to send him to another country. But no scenario where he stays here. No scenario where he's at the beach on Friday. No scenario where someone goes down and gets him or El Salvador sends him back here and he's having ice cream with his kids Saturday morning. There is no scenario where that happens. So I keep asking you Democrats who are out there, what is your end game? He's going to come back and we're going to deport him again. What does that solve? Like what?
But should we give him a citizenship? Is he able to afford the gold card?
He can't.
The Trump card?
Well, you can't because you've been deemed. You had a deportation order. You've come here illegally. This guy can never come back to the U.S., not even to visit. Mm-hmm. Like he can't, 10 years from now, establish himself somewhere else and then come here to visit his family. He's not allowed back in the country because you've been. Because
I was gonna say, I'm like, these senators are defending him. They can just buy him a Trump card. Mm-hmm. If that.
I think we should let him come back. Move him next door to a Democrat who thinks that he should have come back. Let him move next door to your kids and your wife and your family, and we deport you so you can't stay here and protect them. And let's see how that works out. Because I guarantee you there's not one Democrat that's taking that deal. Not one.
You know what's crazy? The Democrat Party, a lot of these some of them, not all, sorry, emotional people are like, oh, they're taking advantage of our rights. We have rights. There's laws that protect us, and they're taking advantage. But they're the first ones in a situation like this, right, to say, no, we have to bend the law.
Right.
So who decides on the law?
Well, one of my favorite things that I say to people all the time on Facebook and in real life, especially because they're partisan Democrats who want this guy back. They want this guy back because their party told them he needs to come back, so they want him back, even though coming back means we're just going to deport him again.
Bukele said he's not letting him go.
What's that?
Bukele.
No, he's not letting him. He said, why he's a terrorist. Why would I let him go?
And you know what he said? He said something that really stuck to me. He said, people are saying that we're imprisoning, thousands. And he said, but I'm actually liberating millions.
Right.
And that is so true. You should see the crime rate from El Salvador.
Oh, I know, because they sent us all their criminals.
Yeah.
They did. They opened up their prisons and they sent us all their criminals. Till this guy got elected.
So he got elected.
Now he's changing it around. So I always like to go back to the hypocrisy because I'm a media guy, and then we got to wrap up.
Yeah, we got to wrap up. It's been an hour and a half.
These are the same people that for the last 8 years have used a phrase over and over and over to the point where we're all sick of hearing it. And the phrase is, no one is above the law, not even Donald Trump. But those are the same people that think we should let illegal aliens come here, open our borders, violate our laws, stay here violating our laws. Steal Social Security numbers, that's okay, we let them out the back door. Mm-hmm. They commit rape, they commit fraud, they commit murder. A Boston judge is letting them out the back door. So you can't say for 8 straight years no one is above the law, not even Donald Trump, and then a year later go, except 50 million illegal aliens. It doesn't work. It shows that you're not serious. It shows that you literally do not believe in anything that you say. It means you don't believe in anything, period. It means you will say and do anything for your party to gain or regain power. That's what it means. It means
I don't think so. I think they're just manipulated.
well, they've been conditioned. They've been.
Yeah.
I don't like the word brainwashing because brainwashing denotes that you're not in control. Mm-hmm. It's more
Because
of an,
you are.
It's more of an indoctrination.
You are in
right?
control.
Oh, you're totally in control. You could very easily step
I was
back.
manipulated for some time.
Right.
I was.
Right.
I'm not going to lie. And it took life experiences and it took me to see things, to have my children, to work in different places, to have access to different social classes.
I bet I
for
know
me
what.
to be
I bet
able
I
to
know
do
what
that.
woke you up. I bet I know what started your transformation to be
Tell me.
away. I bet it was working with all those
Millionaires.
rich white racists at Phillips Academy.
Yes.
I knew it.
Ding, 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 ding,
The
ding,
minute
ding,
you
ding,
told me
ding,
that you
ding,
worked
ding,
at
ding.
the minute you told me you worked at Phillips Academy, I sat back and go, that's why she's a Republican. Because as a Latino, watching the blatant racism by the rich elites in Andover at Phillips Academy, that had to be disconnecting for you to the point where you became a Republican.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I went in there fully Democrat, fully empathetic and emotionally
Yep.
manipulated. And then I saw how really,
equity, inclusion.
Then I saw how things really
work.
really
right.
work in the world.
When you see how the sausage gets made, it's a whole different story, isn't
Yeah.
it?
When you get to talk to diplomats and governors and district attorneys and you have access to specific, social classes, you're like, wait a minute, what the heck is going on here?
Right, right.
So, yeah, absolutely. That was my transformation.
I had a feeling. I never asked you this, but since we're on the topic, I was like, let me just ask her, because I was a hardcore partisan Republican, and I can tell you that I started gravitating away from that when I started. I was very big in the Tea Party. When the Tea Party under Obama formed. Listen, I was the MC at the Greater Boston Tea Party Tax Day Rally on April 15th every year. I was the MC, so I'm the guy that booked the guests. I'm the one that got Jeff Katz to come. I'm the one that got Jeff Cooner from RKO. I'm the one that called them. I'm the one that met with them beforehand. What
So
are
you had
gonna
a similar
talk about?
experience.
Right? And so I would get up at these rallies, and at rallies throughout the year, different Tea Party things, and I'd say, listen, I got a friend, Katie Ives. She's a state senator from Salisbury, from Newburyport area, and she wants to put photo ID on welfare cards. Now, that's something we've been crying about welfare fraud at the Tea Party since before there was a Tea Party. We should have her come to the meeting and talk to us about how we can help her get this accomplished. Because if a Republican did that, they'd call him a racist. But they need her vote on abortion. They need her vote on the budget. They need her vote on education. So they're not going to call her a racist because they'd be calling themselves a racist. So we can help her get this done. They booed me out of the room. In fact, I said it at the Tax Day Tea Party rally one night, and I still have the video one afternoon. It was a Saturday afternoon, and they tried booing me off the stage. Like, these were people that were cheering wildly when I gave my speech 5 minutes earlier when I was introducing Todd Feinberg, and now all of a sudden they're booing me off the stage because I'm daring to suggest that a left-leaning lunatic like Katie Ives, who hugs trees and is so left-wing thinks they hug her back, someone who believes in abortion on demand up until 3rd grade, right, that I dared just to propose that she come to a Tea Party event and talk to us about welfare fraud and how we can stop it. And all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, these people aren't serious. Like I really care about these issues, so I'm willing to marry a Democrat to get it done because I don't really care about left-wing, right-wing, if you're trying to get something done, like with Greg Rosario. Try to get something done, let's just try to get it done. And I remember going to the Peabody Tea Party and getting booed out of the room. It was in a restaurant on like their main street, whatever it is. And I remember sitting in my car waiting for Christine Morabito to come out. And she finally came out 20 minutes later. And I'm like, what took you so long? She goes, I couldn't get through these people. They wanted to lynch you. Like, you came to their party, they thought you were going to just throw red meat to them and talk about Obama's birth certificate and abortion and all the things they really wanted to talk about. And when you talked about bringing a Democrat to the next meeting, we should leave now because they may be coming out to the parking lot. Like, that's how crazy it got, right? But I'll tell you what really pushed me over the edge, and then I'm going to end the show. What really pushed me over the edge, I had already gravitated away from the Tea Party, and I'd started gravitating away from the Republican Party, because the Republicans are wrong about a lot of things. The problem that I had with the Republican Party is I agree with everything they say, but they don't agree with everything they say. So they come out and they run at election time promising to lower our taxes, promising that they're going to be better stewards of your money. They run at election time promising you that they're going to be fiscally responsible, that they're not going to borrow so much money like the Democrats are doing. They're not going to run up the debts, and they get elected and they do all of that. And so I remember during COVID 2020, I even said it out loud even though I was alone in my office. I'm watching Mitch McConnell make a pitch for why he's not going to vote for the third round of COVID relief. So we got one round of $1,200. We got a second round, I think, of $1,200 or somewhere near $1,200.
$600, wasn't it?
Maybe $600. And then the third one was going to be another $1,200. And Mitch McConnell gets up there in the Senate. The House had already voted for it. And he's going on and on about how we have to be fiscally responsible. We're borrowing money from China. Do we really want to be borrowing more money from China to give to people? I know people are hurting. I know we've shut down the country. But listen, we've got a lot of things going on in the middle of this COVID. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't like what he's saying. I don't agree with what he's saying. But I get where he's coming from.
Of course.
And in the next fucking breath, after that vote was over, he himself made a motion to spend $15 billion on foreign aid to Egypt and Jordan and South Africa and Brazil and Bolivia. And I sat there as he read down the list, and it passed unanimously. And I said, I will never be a Republican ever again. You just voted not to borrow money from China because you were being fiscally prudent.
For citizens.
For people in this goddamn country
Citizens.
who voted for you and whose tax money you're stealing to give to Jordan and Egypt and other countries. And you couldn't give us the money, but you're giving it to other people and other. Listen, if you have 2 kids and the kid next door, his parents neglect him and he's got no coat, but you're poor and your kid has no coat, and you get a bonus in your check, do you buy a coat for the kid next door first?
Or your kid.
Or do you buy it for your own kid? You take care of your own people first. And this is why the Democrats hate Donald Trump. They hate Donald Trump because for years they've been putting everybody else first. And Donald Trump came along, love him or hate him, and said, why aren't we putting our own people first? Why are we closing our borders? Why are we charging tariffs to China? They're charging us tariffs. Why aren't we charging them tariffs? Canada's charging a 270% tariff on American milk. Why are we selling their milk here? So they're making money on our consumers buying their milk, but we're making no money because their consumers aren't buying our milk because our milk is 270% higher than their milk. So why aren't we putting Americans first? Now, I'm not going to say he always goes about it the right way. Sometimes, because of his personality, he doesn't do it the right way.
No one's perfect.
But he's doing it. And for years and years and decades, we had both Republicans and Democrats selling us out to the European Union, to England, to China, to Mexico. And now, prior to Trump coming on board, they'd both sold us out to China and the cartels. The Democrat Party, mark my words, I said it when Lenny Murrow was here, and everybody ducked when I said...
Well, he didn't. He actually agreed with you.
Yeah, when I said Mayor Wu was working for the Chinese government and the cartels, and he's like, well, yeah, but you don't mean like really. I'm like, no, I mean really. Well, what has come out in the last week? Have you seen Jeffrey Cooner has released, from RKO in Boston, has released documents showing Chinese operatives funneling money to Mayor Wu's campaign account in Boston. Couldn't make it up. I said it 3 weeks ago on this show. Everybody, oh my God, you see the emails I got. Oh, it's racism. You said because she's Chinese, you think she's a Chinese spy? Yes, actually I do. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's not racism. That's fucking reality. That's what it is. When everything she does helps 2 groups, the cartels and China, you don't really need proof in my eyes to know she's working for the cartels and for China. Like, if everything that I do benefits my neighbors, guess whose side I'm on? I'm on my neighbor's side.
Of course.
I'm not on anybody else's side. So I'm going to leave you with this.
Want to thank our sponsors?
We will thank the sponsors when you roll up, Mel. I just want to leave you with this. You can love Donald Trump. You can hate Donald Trump. A lot of people do. I don't agree with everything he says. I'm against him trying to change birthright citizenship. routinely go on Facebook and piss off all my Donald Trump friends because I don't agree with him 100% of the time. By the way, we should all be doing that. If you love Donald Trump, you should be looking for things to disagree with him about because nobody is perfect and nobody's always right. And you have a lot more credibility if you say the Democrats were right on Thursday because they actually did do something right, even though it makes your side look bad. I'm the first guy to say that a Democrat did something right. So when I say that a Republican did something right, people know I'm being objective. I've got more credibility when I say it. And so I think Donald Trump does a lot of things that I don't agree with. The birthright citizenship thing is huge with me right now. I don't even understand where he's coming from. We could do a whole show on that. And my right-wing friends are going to be really pissed off. And my left-wing friends are never going to give me credit for it. They're still going to call me, oh, you're still a cult member. You're a MAGA. You're a zombie.
Oh, you're a racist.
You just do it right. You're the Antichrist. I'm Ronald Reagan. Ronald Wilson Reagan. But the bottom line is we really both, on the far left, on the far right, the pro-Trump and the anti-Trump, we have to come a little closer to the middle. Those people who hate Donald Trump come on my Facebook page and call me a MAGA idiot and all this stuff. And I say to them, well, yesterday I did an entire dissertation on why Donald Trump was wrong about X, Y, Z. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you said Donald Trump was right about something? Well, he's never been right about anything. Okay, that goes to show that you're an idiot. And now the conversation is over because you can't be objective. You can't be objective and say, like, I can tell you, I think that there's 5 things that I think Barack Obama did that were phenomenal for this country, all right? And I'll just give you one as we're signing up because I know we have to go. I'm actually late for a dinner right now. But you got me going on this topic.
I know.
Right?
We should have just talked about the national stuff today.
Right.
About Trump today.
Yeah, no, you're right. But we had to get some of the local stuff out, too.
Stuff going on.
What was I saying? Barack Obama. Barack Obama, toward the end of his term, his second term, decided that he didn't want to send any more troops into the regions of Africa where there were Muslim terrorists, where we knew that there were Muslim terrorists that were partly responsible for 9/11 and partly responsible for propping up Osama bin Laden. And so instead of sending our troops there to kill them, what he did was he started a military drone program so that we could send drones there to blow them up without putting American boots on the ground and putting American lives at risk. Now, you can hate Barack Obama. You can think he was a communist. You can think that he was a racist, and he was probably a little bit of both of those things. But I'll tell you what, when he did that one thing, I think it was a tremendous thing to do for the country because he saved American lives. He saved the lives of some of our American military servicemen. So if you love Donald Trump, you've got to find something that you don't like about what he's doing, and you need to be vocal about it. And if you hate Donald Trump, you need to find something that you like. Remove the emotion, remove the talking points, and just look at what he's doing and find something that he's doing that you like, and publicly say that. Because if you can't do those things, you've got no credibility, and you don't really believe in anything. You're just a follower. You're following what the parties are telling you, and you're saying what the parties are telling you. And I'm just going to leave you with that. So I apologize to Vinny. I'm supposed to be meeting with him for lunch right now on a business lunch.
It's with Vinny?
Do you know Vinny?
I know Vinny.
Okay, all right.
He's a nice kid.
Okay.
It's playing.
Oh, it's playing. Okay. Yeah. So let's take our sponsors. I love my sponsors. Free shout-out to JG's Ice Cream and Stadium Chiropractic, W3ON Website Design, Enterprise Bank, Chris's Barbershop in Salem, New Hampshire, above Sevmars, Prime Insurance, the Doug Mercurio Law Office, Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors, AFC Urgent Care, McLennan Real Estate, Century 21, Zany Pesh Law Office, Marsan and Son Construction, EIS Investigation, and Tomo and Shaken Seafood. Thank you. I want to thank Intern Girl.
Tom, I love conversating with you.
You do?
I do.
Oh, that's so
course.
Nice. I'm going to get her to marry me sooner or later.
You're my bestie.
Aww.
You are. I have no friends.
All right. Sorry, Vinny. I can't meet you for lunch now. I'm taking Carlotta out. I'm going to go spend my money on Carlotta. If you guys could see how hot she was. I got to get you up here some after so people can see how hot you are.
No, my hair looks kind of crazy.
All right. Melvin Taylor says you got to go home, so go home.
Can I just say one last thing?
Hurry up.
420, my podcast is launching. So yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'll promote that on my page.
All right.